good morning and welcome to the Q4 FY20 results call of Radico Khaitan Limited, hosted by Emkay Global Financial Services. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of today's presentation. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now want the conference over to Mr. Ashit Desai from Emkay Global. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Lizanne. Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to welcome the management of Radico Khaitan and thank them for giving us this opportunity. With us, we have today Mr. Abhishek Khaitan, Managing Director, Mr. Dilip Banthiya, CFO, Mr. Amar Sinha, COO, Mr. Sanjeev Banga, President of International Business, and Mr. Mukesh Agarwal, EVP Finance. Handing over the call to the management now for opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on our Q4 and full year FY20 results conference call. Hope you are all well and keeping safe. On today's call, I am joined by my colleagues Dilip Banthiya, CFO, Amar Sinha, Chief Operating Officer, and Sanjeev Banga, President, International Business. During this call, I will discuss the current industry environment, followed by an operational overview and outlook. Then I will hand over the call to Dilip for a detailed discussion on the quarterly performance, followed by Q&A. Before I get into the performance overview, I would like to discuss how Radico Khaitan is positioned in these unprecedented times. As you are aware, COVID-19 has resulted in significant economic crisis not only in India, but also across the globe. The nationwide lockdown had brought business to a halt and disrupted almost all sectors of the economy. However, we believe that it is a temporary phase for our business, and after the lockdown is over, we shall return to normalcy soon. There is a lot of uncertainty around the timing of recovery from this pandemic. Therefore, it is even more difficult to ascertain the impact on the industry as a whole and our business. There are a number of questions in our minds, such as the effectiveness and the adequacy of the containment efforts, development and availability of vaccines, etc. However, we know for sure that Radico Khaitan has a trusted brand portfolio that our consumers love and cherish. We have a robust balance sheet position and a strong professional management team which will continue to drive our future growth strategy. We are closely monitoring the situation and have invoked crisis management actions to ensure the safety and security of the team as well as uninterrupted operations. Health, safety and well-being of our employees is our utmost priority. We have implemented the strictest standards of social distancing in supply chain, use of PPE, as well as strict hygiene and sanitization procedures at our offices and factories. Radico Khaitan is strategically focused on a few things which will enable us to emerge stronger after the crisis. First and foremost is our focus on strengthening the brand portfolio. We will continue to launch brands in the premium category which will contribute to the future growth. As you are aware that digital has been an important part of our marketing strategy, we will reassess and refocus our A&SP strategy, and we believe that going forward, the share of digital will increase even further. We are also reviewing each and every fixed cost. This will enable us to become leaner on our operations and cost structure. Finally, we are leveraging technology to drive transformation in the work environment and support the workforce. This will make us future ready. During this period, Radico Khaitan stands in solidarity with the nation and we are humbled to have been able to make a small contribution to the nation's fight against COVID-19. In addition to cash donation, we continue to supply sanitizer to various district administrations in Uttar Pradesh and other government agencies. Despite a tough backdrop of the economic slowdown in the first 11 months of the fiscal year and lockdown in March 2020, Radico Khaitan has delivered a strong and profitable growth during FY20. We delivered a double-digit IMFL growth of 13.1% in Q4 FY20 and 12.5% in full year FY20. Industry volumes growth during the year was only 0.5%. Radico Khaitan's outperformance is a reflection of a strong brand equity and consumer-focused brand portfolio. Management continues to make strategic and highly targeted investment in innovative marketing and products to gain market share. We are confident that we will continue to outperform the industry and strengthen our market positioning in the years to come. As discussed on our previous call, we experienced a consolidation trend in ENA prices in the fourth quarter. ENA prices have decreased by 2% quarter-on-quarter compared to Q3 FY20, but have increased 19% compared to FY 2019. We believe that with an improved monsoon, better crop this sugar season, and significant decline in the crude prices, raw material pricing scenario may be stable. Revenue from operations increased by 15.7% during FY20. Two of our brands are approaching the milestone of million case volume in the near to mid-term. I'm also proud to report that 8PM family of brands has crossed volumes of 10 million cases during FY 2020. While the near-term outlook is unclear at the moment, we are confident of the medium to long-term dynamics of the IMFL industry in India. Given our ability to maintain the IMFL volume growth trajectory, we are confident of delivering improved profitability when the industry scenario stabilizes. As we move into FY21, we will continue to take necessary steps to maintain our robust foundation and financial strength while at the same time delivering differential consumer experience. With this, I would now like to hand over the call to our CFO for a detailed discussion on the operating and financial performance. Thank you, and over to you, Dilip.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this call today. During the year, we reported IMFL sales volume of 24.3 million cases, representing a growth of 12.5% on YOY basis. The volume growth was led by prestige and above category volume, increase of 15.2%. Prestige and above category brands accounted for 29% of the total IMFL volume compared to 28.3% last year. Regular category volume growth for the year was 11.4% compared to FY19. In value terms, the prestige and above brands contributed to about 49.5% of the total IMFL sales value compared to 47.9% during last year. Revenue growth from operation during FY20 was 2,427 crores, representing an increase of 15.7% compared to FY19. During this period, IMFL sales value growth was 18.5%. As a percentage of total revenue, IMFL sales account for 81.5% of the net revenue from operation as compared to 79.6% in FY19. Gross margin declined by 200 basis points to 48.6% on YOY basis. The increase in raw material prices was partly offset by higher IMFL price realization and higher contribution from IMFL business. Adjusted EBITDA increased by 5.4% on YOY basis to 368 crores with a margin of 15.2%. EBITDA for FY20 was adjusted for 24.2 crores pertaining to exceptional items including a write-off of debtor in Bihar of 8.56 crores in Q4 of FY20. 8.59 crore was paid under SC scheme during Q3 of FY20, and an environmental compensation of 7 crore was paid in the H1 of FY20. Finance cost during FY20 decreased by 10.9% on YOY basis from 35.48 crores to 31.61 crores. As of March 31st, 2020, net debt was 382 crores versus 319 crores. During this period, we saw timing delay in receivable collection, leading to temporary working capital buildup in certain corporation markets. However, we don't see any credit risk with these receivables. It is important to note that major portion of the overdue receivable has been collected during the next 45 days after the year end. Abhishek has already discussed in detail about the current business environment and the market position. Let me try and highlight some of the steps we have taken to preserve our financial strength and operational continuity. During the lockdown, the manufacturing of grain ENA and bottling of IMFL products and country liquor was suspended from last week of March to the first week of May. During this period, we started the manufacture of sanitizer to support the nation's fight against COVID-19. We have developed a company-wide policy framework to reflect how systems, processes need to change post-COVID 2019. We are starting operation wherever possible with the necessary clearance and permission. As the lockdown are easing from 3rd May onwards, we are ramping up our operation in both production and dispatches. We have a strong financial position, comfortable liquidity, all fixed costs, and planned and unplanned capex are being reviewed to ensure optimization during this period. Going forward, we expect some OPEX savings due to our tight cost controls, which will enable us to grow our EBITDA and maintain EBITDA margin. Further, in line with our strategy of being an employer of choice, we have continued to support our employees with zero salary reduction or job losses during this period. To summarize, as we step into the new financial year, we are taking all necessary steps to sustain our financial strength, robust business model, continue to grow consistently, competitively, and profitably. With this, we will now put the line for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1 on your touch-tone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. The first question is from the line of Neeraj Prakash and Newton Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for taking my question. I had my first question on costs. If you can just sort of break up the gross margin impact that you had this quarter from the inflation in ENA versus, I guess, price increases taken from glass players and packaging. And secondly on cost is your other expenses has fallen year over year as well as quarter over quarter. So what has sort of driven that reduction in other expenses?
Yeah, so your first question regarding the gross margin in this period on YOY basis, our gross margin was down by 200 basis points at 48.6%. This is mainly on account of the raw material prices, where the molasses prices, the ENA prices, and grain prices have gone up. This after having a higher realization from IMFL business and higher growth. As I said, that IMFL business during the year has grown by 18.5% versus the non-IMFL business growth was just 5%. So because of that, some compensation. So the 200 basis point is on account of the raw material prices, and on an absolute figure basis, if we say that approximately 90 crores was the impact on YOY basis on account of the higher raw material prices, which has been absorbed in this year. As far as your second question regarding the other expenditure, there was a cow cess levied by Uttar Pradesh government, and because of that there has been an increase of 20 crores during this period. So other expenditure is mainly increased on account of that, and rest is the normal expenditure. And as we said in our opening remarks, that we are looking at each cost item and looking at tighter control, so we will have some saving on the other overheads this year.
Sure. And just lastly, on your receivables front, as you mentioned, you've seen an increase in receivables by roughly 200 crores year-over-year on your balance sheet, so which has been a significant drag on your operating cash. So can you give us some color on who the receivables are from and sort of what and when do you expect to sort of collect them?
Yeah, so as I already explained in the opening remark, that these are some timing delays from some corporation market, and because of that they were overdue as on 31st March 2020. In next 45 days of this, we have collected almost 100 crores from these overdues, and my debt today stand at 300 crores from 382 crores, which was on 31st March 2020.
Okay, sure. Thank you. And just lastly, in terms of the delivery of alcohol, which is now happening to people's homes across many states, are you seeing any trends in terms of it being widely adopted, and therefore you seeing more traction in terms of incremental volumes?
See, I think the trend of home delivery is a huge structural change for our liquor industry. As of now, it's too soon to make a comment because only in a few states like Jharkhand, etc., the delivery has started. But I think the most important is the trend, because the minute it gains pace, the distribution becomes very free for alcohol, which was earlier restricted. And especially, people who are little hesitant to go to alcohol shops to buy, especially the women, etc., this home delivery would be a boon for the customers.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management will be able to address questions from all participants in this conference, we request you to limit your questions to 2 per participant only. If time permits, you can come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is the line of Pritesh Bora from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Pritesh. Am I audible?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Just 2 questions. One, across the states, there are these multiple excise or indirect taxation increase, and different states have different percentage. Is it possible to share what would be the blended excise increase considering the states which have announced, and is there a corresponding MRP increase which have already been effective? So that's one question. And second question is, we have a lost volume in the first 60 days, or let's say first 45 days of the year. Based on the trends that you're seeing now, is there that the stock out would have happened? And do you think that there is a probability that these lost volumes can be covered up for the year and there can be some growth for the year?
So I will say these increase in excise duty, you can have it. Increase in excise duty is 100% pass on, and MRP has been increased to that extent. Okay. Second, your question regarding the inventory pipeline. I think Amar to speak about it, inventory pipeline.
So first of all, I will repeat. Most of these tax increases are at the last mile, and therefore there has been a commensurate increase in MRP without impacting the bottom line of manufacturers. Point 1. Point number 2, the pipelines in the trade are actually very low, and therefore as the trade normalizes, the pipeline filling will actually take place, and the consumers will start picking up their preferred choice of brands. So demand is going to come back.
So based on that, do you think that this lost volume of whatever 30, 40 days, the lost primary volumes of the 30, 40 days can be recovered for the year?
See, right now to make any comment would be too soon, because but what we can say is that like the places where the shops have been opened, our sales have come back to 80% of the normal rate. So I think as time passes and how the COVID plays out, it is quite subjective. But in Radico, we will be outperforming the industry in terms of volume, and I think the demand for liquor would be the soonest to come back.
And from supply side, are you ready, or there are any challenges there from the supply side now?
We've got total in 32 units, and as of today, all the 32 units have started operations.
It can be ramped up to that 80-90% of the demand filling if required, or there are challenges there?
See, challenges in the beginning are there, but once the unit starts to ramp up, problem, because labor-wise, etc., all our labors are local. So luckily, we don't have that challenge.
Okay. Thank you and all the best, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Naveen Trivedi from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone, and congratulations on the good numbers. Sir, could you please explain us about your realization growth in the P&A side? It was very strong versus what we have seen the trajectory in the previous few quarters. And why the regular realization was down 8% this quarter?
See, P&A in this quarter has grown by 11.3% YOY basis. Yes, Q-on-Q basis there has been, because the third quarter is almost the best in volume. As far as the 12 months is concerned, our P&A has grown 15.2% versus the regular brand at 11.4%. So both have grown, but Prestige and Above has outperformed. So the regular category lower growth, as our focus is, because our focus is mainly on the Prestige and Above category. So we are continuing to focus on Prestige and Above category, and as 23rd onward, there has not been any dispatches, and that is the period where the dispatches takes place before the year-end new excise year starts, and the pipeline filling also happens. So that we lost those sales, which is also a significant sale. But in spite of that, I will say that the quarter volume has grown by 13.1%.
So my question was more with respect to the realization growth which we have seen during this quarter. I assume that the P&A realization was upwards of 15% this quarter.
So actually, realization in Prestige and Above category, sometimes it depends on the state mix also. State mix, and where because of the last 7-10 days the pipeline inventory fill up. Yeah, Amar can speak on that in detail.
Yeah, so the last quarter we saw a healthy growth in our premium brands in the southern markets, which have really impacted well for us.
The price realization also depends on the EDP of that particular Prestige brand in various states.
Okay, so I assume that the north market is relatively positive for your realization.
Yeah. North markets are having higher EDP in Prestige category.
Fair point. And with respect to the what we have also observed for other consumption categories also, the aggregate demand is also seems to be more muted for FY21. So do you see that this will also impact to your P&A journey, which in FY20 was very robust? Do you think that this can impact to your P&A growth, or you think that this can be an opportunity for you, considering the price points at which the P&A is available for you? This can be an opportunity for you.
See, what we feel is, as I said, that we have to see how the COVID plays out, and if the lockdown is lifted and everything returns back to normal, I think the P&A will start growing faster than the regular range.
Okay, and just lastly on your the P&A realization side, although there were lots of you are saying the mix also has changed. But even if I look at your annual realization also is pretty healthy. So do you think that this 1400 to 1450 kind of a realization is sustainable going ahead?
See, the realization per case depends, as I said, on the state mix. So basically, P&A, we look at the contribution per case, and those are in an almost same bracket. So I think that realization per case sometimes is a matter of the metric of the state mix.
But in general, yes, it should continue.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Participants, in order for the management to able to address all questions in this conference, we request you to limit your questions to one per participant only. The next question is from the line of Vishal Bararia from Aviva Insurance. Please go ahead.
Hello. So what is the current capacity utilization across our 32 plants that you said were operational?
We have actually the capacity, as Abhishek has told in his opening remarks, that all the 32 units are well prepared to cater to the demand and dispatches. But at this point of time, as we said, that 60-65% of the shops have opened and operated. Next 2 weeks, we see that most of the shops will come in place. And as we have to also see how the consumer behavior takes place, and these excise duty hikes in particularly couple of states where there is abnormal high. So how the industry behaves. So we will cater to the market demand, but our preparedness as far as supply chain is concerned is geared up.
I mean, assuming that 80% of the shops open in the next few weeks and we are back at about 80% level across India, so would the plants be currently preparing for such an eventuality? So would they be operating at plus 75% utilization currently? Would that be a fair understanding?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And any specific states that you want to highlight where the dues are much more than normal?
You mean to say dues?
Yeah, or receivables that we want to collect from the states?
No, actually there were only couple of states which was a timing mismatch, and those for last 45 days we have collected most of the high overdues. So that's how the debt is down to 300. So there is no specific where the dues are overdues are high now.
Okay. So just one last question is that because of the increase in excise duty across many states, would regular grow, would there be downtrading? Would regular grow more than P&A? And in case that happens, would that impact on margins in FY21?
See, in the states where the excise has been increased from 10 to 20%, there we don't see any downtrading happening. But like certain states like Andhra and Delhi, where the excise has been increased by 70%, definitely if it continues, there'll be a downtrading there. But we believe that it is a temporary measure, and because if the volume is lost, the excise would be, since it's only a COVID test, it will be brought back to normal levels.
Okay. So if this happens, there would be a decline, there would be some impact on the gross margins, right? At least for the near term, because of the downtrading?
See, right now there are only two markets like Andhra and Delhi, where there can be downtrading. So in the overall scheme, it's not that significant. Also, I would like to say that considering the brand portfolio that Radico has, we have brands to cater to every price segment. And that will play its role in that kind of a scenario.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shirish Pardeshi from Centrum. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon and thanks for the opportunity. Hi Abhishek and Girish sir. Just two questions from my side. If you can help me to understand Magic Moment volume last year and this year.
See, as we said that we do not give brand specific volume, and our overall volumes have grown by 12.5%, where the Prestige and above is up by 15%. So Magic also has grown at the same level.
Okay. Any color on how big is now Morpheus Reach?
Morpheus now has become close to 1 million. So hopefully, if everything goes well next year, we should be in the 1 million cases.
Okay. My second question is on if you can give us throw some light on UP and AP market. How is the growth and what are the issues which we are facing in current context?
See, out of all the markets, Uttar Pradesh has really done a commendable job, and majority of the shops are open there. And so UP has done very well, and I think in another month or two, the sales will be back to normal, if not more. The excise hike is also only about 10%. So UP, I think, will recover the fastest. As far as AP market goes, the tax increase there has been 70%. So there the industry has taken a huge beating. It's down to about half in Andhra, less than half.
UP in FY20 would have grown excess of 17-18%?
Yeah, UP in FY20 has grown by 10%, and we have again outsmarted the industry.
You said 10.
This is 10% in spite of the lockdown of the last 7 days, where your major stocking goes for the new trade.
And Radico continues to have the maximum market share, the largest market share in UP.
Just follow up on that. AP would be about 10-12% of our annual volume?
AP?
Yeah.
AP would be about 7%.
Okay. And there you are saying that the excise which has happened at 70%, the volumes are under pressure.
Yeah.
Any quick feedback initially? What is the demand scenario on right now?
Rajasthan is coming back to normalcy, so Rajasthan is not an issue much.
Sir, I'm asking about AP.
Yeah, AP, as Abhishek is already told, that after this increase in the excise duty, we are seeing 50% of the industry. So,
but what happens is if the AP the excise is higher, the neighboring states like Telangana, etc., you start getting material from those states. So the volume in the other states keep increasing. So it's a self-check mechanism.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I was asking in the sense that if AP has a higher taxes, there will be stock which will come from neighboring states. Is that the scenario which is happening right now?
See, right now it's too soon because the boundaries are locked down, because there is a lockdown everywhere in India. So, travel is difficult. But as it opens up, definitely it will happen. That we've seen it wherever the duties are higher, the neighboring states, the material comes in.
Okay. Okay, all right. I'll come back to you. Come back again. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amarjeet Maurya from Angel Broking. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, just wanted to understand on a demand front. We are following social distancing, so a lot of demand come during the socializing, like a party and all that. And second is that closure of bar and restaurant, how much we are contributing in the bar and restaurant. And apart from that, nowadays people are looking for the a value for money, and this product, our product is more or less in a discretionary nature. So what do you think, how the demand will impact?
See, to answer your second part about the restaurants and bars, in India, alcohol is still a home-driven subject because the bars and restaurants only, the market share there is only about 3 to 4%. More is in-home drinking. So I think the bar and restaurant closure does not affect so much.
So how much we are contributing toward in terms of our revenue?
It's negligible. It will be the same range, 2 to 3%. That's it.
2 to 3%.
Yeah.
And what's your thought on the social distancing, party and all that, socializing?
It's a universal phenomenon. So I think with social distancing and all that, basically the home consumption continues to be there, and when people don't go on the on-premise, then the consumption at home might increase. But it's too early to comment on that. Too early how these price increases, these excise increases, how the consumer behavior. So we have to wait for at least a month or 45 days to look at what kind of trend emerges.
Okay. So, sir, what I understand, you people are saying like 80% of sales are normal, right? Back.
We are talking about, we are geared up 65 to 70% of
the states where the excise duty has been increased by only 10 or 15%, and where the shops have fully opened, there the demand has started coming back to the normal level. But you appreciate like a lot of places the lockdown is still continuing, like Mumbai. Mumbai is still under lockdown. So, there are a lot of containment areas, etc. So wherever it is open, the demand is coming back.
Okay.
I think another 1 month or 2 months, depending on the COVID situation, we'll know how the market stands out.
Okay.
We'll get up from our side for the supplies.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management will be able to address questions from all participants in this conference, we request you to limit your questions to 2 per participant only. The next question is from the line of Rahul Ranade from Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Mr. Rahul Ranade, your line is in the talk mode. As there's no response from the current participant, we'll move on to the next. That is from the line of Senthil Khandelwal from Birla Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi Abhishek ji and hi team. Congrats on good set of numbers. My question is on the write-off of 8 crore from Bihar. Can you explain this? What was this regarding?
Senthil, actually Bihar prohibition time, we had some outstanding from the corporation. And out of that, some recovery has happened on that side. So the balance amount of 8.56 crore was lying in our books. As I said in my remark that this is being contested by the industry. It is on merit that the corporation must owe the quantum of the supplies gone before the prohibition. However, keeping in with this prudent this thing, because it's already 3-4 years we are fighting and the date of the next hearing is not coming in Supreme Court, we thought it prudent to put it as a write-off. Whenever recovery takes place, we will write back to the extent of amount recovered from this outstanding. So there is no outstanding on account of Bihar after this is written off in the books.
Sure, thanks. Second is on receivable days. Now, Andhra is a big portion, if I'm not wrong, taking a clue from the last calls. Now, Andhra, there is excise hike also. So how are you looking to play Andhra Pradesh? That will define whether the money comes back, or has the money come back from Andhra Pradesh?
Yeah, so I said that this counterparty risk is not there, first of all, in Andhra Pradesh because it is to the corporation. Secondly, the most of the money collected, as I said, that is down to 300 crores and 100 crores plus of overdues have been collected.
How many has been collected?
100 crores have been collected on account of overdues in the from April till date, and most of the money collected is from these corporation market only. So we have now a very moderate kind of, now the outstanding is not that great, which used to be at 31st March 2020.
Okay. But Andhra supply is back to normal. Andhra with the excise hike and a lot of liquor stores not opening. How is the condition in Andhra Pradesh now?
So the shops have started opening up. It has not yet optimized, but in the month ahead, which is by June end, we hope that Andhra will be fully operational because the plants have started to manufacture.
Sure. Lastly, on the Uttar Pradesh, with this new regulation of the liquor stores in the mall, any other change in regulations you think has happened in that state?
No, I think the two things, one is the home delivery and the allowing of premium brands in the malls. I think it's a very positive sign for the industry. So I think UP has taken a lead on that, and it should really help the premium plus sales.
Sure. Abhishek, on this home delivery thing, you think this is just one last thing on the last question only?
Sir, there are participants waiting for the turn. May we request that you return to the question, please?
Sure, thanks.
Thank you. We move on to the next question. That is the line of Jaspreet Walia from Infina Finance. Please go ahead.
Sir, my question is on this news that we have read on UP allowing retailing of premium liquor in malls. So can you elaborate it a bit in the sense that how is the government proposing to implement it, and what kind of increase in retail point of sale do you expect out of this new ruling?
See, right now it's again too soon. This is the intention of the UP government, and I think they are still framing the rules of how to allow and what to do. But I think the thinking is in the right direction, where we have been always asking that the premium brand should be allowed in the mall, so that you also increase the number of distribution points. So again, repeating, both home delivery and allowing of premium liquor in the malls is absolutely a step in the right direction. So once it crystallizes in Uttar Pradesh, we'll be able to tell you much more about that, about the mall.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amar Palsandrikar from ACSE Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, I have just one question on receivables. So, as you mentioned, there were some timing differences from certain state corporations in the month of March. Plus, we all know that most of the state governments are financially stressed. Are there any self-imposed credit restrictions that you have in mind which you will implement going forward to keep receivables in check?
So, as I said, Amar, this was also 31st March. We are very, very conscious about the counterparty risk and controlling our credit in the open markets. So as far as the credit risk is concerned, we are very conscious about it, and we will continue to monitor it very closely. Secondly, as far as your strain on the financials of the state revenues, so we actually still believe that the state gets maximum revenue out of liquor, and they will do most of the steps after this normalcy takes place to normalize it so that volume come back and the payments to the manufacturer or supplier makes normal or come on the normalcy. Because if this is not done, their volume suffer, the supplies suffer, and the revenue suffers. So it's a chain reaction. So we don't foresee any concern as far as credit. At the same time, it is in the self-interest of these states to have these outstanding cleared so that supplies are smoothened.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhakti from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Harith here from Investec. My first question was on the the price increases. So obviously, states have taken up the taxes, and typically it's around the time of March, April that you also discuss price increases with states. Probably this time it's been a bit harder because of the environment. Just wanted to get your sense about do you see the opportunity in the next 3 to 6 months to discuss pricing with states also, or you think this year is one where pricing is something that's going to be hard to come by?
See, as a normal practice, we continue discussing about price increases with especially the corporation state. And last year we got certain price increases in few of the states. And in the current year, Telangana has given us a price increase of close to 8 to 10% of the EDP. And recently, even Tamil Nadu announced a 96 rupees per case price increase. And we are in discussion with a few southern states. I think Kerala might give a price increase. So it's an ongoing effort.
Okay. Got it. The second thing was on the material cost. Why do you believe that, the material cost environment will be, flattish going forward, and it may not, in fact, be beneficial to you, given that, crude prices are low and demand is not very strong. So, do you think you could be on the benefit, as far as material costs are concerned, specifically on ENA in the next 9 to 12 months?
See, we definitely see there should not be an increase in the ENA prices. Logic says yes, the prices should go down because even after 1 month lockdown, the ethanol consumption has gone down and the lifting is low. But being on a conservative side, we feel that the prices now should not increase. Good crop. And the crop is also good, especially UP, etc., everywhere. So it should be stable or it can be on a decline also.
Got it. Thank you very much. Those are the two questions for me.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. That is from the line of Shubham Sinha from Equirus. Please go ahead.
Yeah, congrats for the good set of numbers. My question is on the, you gave us some plan on the new brand launch. What is the plan? Is there any delay, or is it going to happen in the second half of this year?
Okay, so Radico has been working on a set of new premium brands for the last 2 years. The work is on track. Normally, we would have launched one of them in the short term, but we will wait to see how the market and the economy shapes up. On our side, we are ready with most of the work behind these premium brands.
And this will be on whiskey and vodka both?
Primarily whiskey.
Okay, and it will be priced above 8 p.m. black, right?
It will be in the premium segment, of course.
Okay. And my last question on the taxes. Now, Delhi and AP, as you have said, it has tax has gone up by around 70%. Is there any possibility of, do you see any possibility of a rollback once lockdown normalizes?
See, definitely, Delhi, we feel that there will be a rationalization of tax because Delhi is closely bordered with Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, and I think it's a temporary measure and the taxes should come down very soon in Delhi.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishi Singhal from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead. Rishi, your line is in the talk mode. Please go ahead. As there's no response from the current participant, we'll move on to the next. That is from the line of Vishal Biraria from Aviva Insurance. Please go ahead.
So the new launches that we're talking about, is it only the whiskey or any other segments in vodka or brandy as well?
So, see, as a marketing strategy, we have already been working on upscaling the vodka range and the brandy range that we have, but it's all in the premium segment upwards. So that effort will continue because it is basically nothing but broad basing the existing set of brands. This effort shall continue and this will impact our bottom line even more favorably. Point one. Point number two, as far as whiskies are concerned, yes, this is one opportunity area that Radico has been seeing and it has actually experienced it with the success of 8 p.m. Premium Black already, and we are working on the other new premium segment brands which will also happen in due course of time, as said, depending upon market conditions.
Okay, and one last thing on glass prices, how have they behaved and any perspectives on when you're talking to the glass manufacturers?
See, glass prices had increased last year and I think now it is stable. We don't see any increase in the glass prices going forward because a lot of demand of soft drinks, beer, all is down. So I think glass prices should be stable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Trivedi from Nepean Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. In the opening remarks, you mentioned about digital. Can you expand a little on that and tell us how you can, as a company, exploit the digital opportunity?
So, as far as digital is concerned, Radico in the last 2 years has actually taken all its marketing initiatives a notch above by concentrating on the social media platforms and the various other options of Google network. Now, this has given us very positive results in the sense that we have now been filtering down to who our consumer is, what his geography is, and we know exactly who are our consumers for brandy, vodka and whiskeys. So that's the kind of details we have gone into. The other aspect that we see is that because we are finding huge interface with the right kind of target audience and consumers directly with our brands, we have taken all our brandy, vodka and whiskey on the social media platform, and we are right now concentrating on events which are largely online. Radico had forayed into being the main sponsor for the largest musical event, Sunburn, in the world, and we have gone on the digital platform with this. We are seeing huge interaction with our consumers. We are also now interacting with consumers on the music and party front with music performances which are online. A lot of our TV commercials that we did with brand ambassadors like Jacqueline Fernandez, Tiger Shroff have now gone online. So most of our efforts are towards communicating with our consumers on the social media platform and Google Display Network. There are many innovative steps that we are working on to increase the interaction, and you will see it in the course of the next 3 months.
Okay, thank you. My second question was a clarification. You mentioned that ENA prices are expected to be flat or possibly may go down. But in the light of the fact that ENA it can now also be used or is being used for sanitizers, do you see that putting any upward pressure on prices?
See, the sanitizer is coming out of the molasses ENA, right? At the same time, we have seen the demand reduction in ethanol, which is a large supply. And we are seeing that the quantity bid is also less, and there practically 45 days the demand has been virtual zero. So this, at the same time, the molasses production in the state of Uttar Pradesh has again been highest in this season. So we don't see this. And secondly, the grain prices, which has moved exorbitantly high last year, where we have taken most of the knock, has started a declining trend. So this is also a counter to the higher ENA prices. So the grain prices have come down. So we are seeing that stable to a moderately declining scenario on ENA front.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Senthil Khandelwal from Birla Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity again. The question which I was asking, Abhishek, is that why do you think this online delivery or delivery of home is structural, and why do you think this will continue? Anything from the industry body or anything you want to highlight?
See, for the state, petrol and alcohol are the major source of revenue for any state government. And seeing this COVID situation and the GST, every state is looking to increase its revenue source. And this is a structural change where with the online delivery, the minute you increase your distribution network or it becomes freely available, the consumption goes up. Now, if the consumption goes up, the revenue of the state will also go up. So that is what we personally feel, that the state would encourage this to happen. And, with the COVID thing, you never know when lockdown again happens. So this and also it helps to for the social distancing part.
So
what are the problems? What are the problems of online delivery? Say, after lockdown, say I'm talking 6 months from now, when things are normalized, our normal liquor store, and there are 5 liquor stores in my vicinity. Now, which liquor store will deliver? How will things work out? Someone will lose revenue. A lot of problems which can happen from that perspective. I'm asking that so a liquor guy may not allow, one liquor store may not feel good about it because someone else is delivering to my area. So how will this pan out? Because the entire structure has to be well defined for this to continue structure.
Each state is working out their own structure. Just to give you an example, like, certain state, they would go online, and there they would ask the retail which are interested in home delivery, and there it will be allocated. So the minute you type in your address, the closest shop will get the order. So that is one pattern. So every state is trying to work their own pattern. So eventually they can also happen from the depot. So every state is trying to work on its own pattern, what is the best.
Sure. Also, do you see number of outlets going up in various states, number of liquor outlets or anything, any such talks?
See, right now in this situation, if the number of outlets which are there, if they open and function properly, I think it will be a big task. How the containment and the COVID situation is.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Devesh Shah from OHM Portfolio. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. My question is that, on the last call, you had actually summarized a couple of cost advantages. I think the figure was something like 50 crores benefit in FY21 for cost savings, besides some one-offs as well, which were there in the last quarter. Can you review this and what could we expect in FY21 on account of, say, gross margin and cost-cutting initiatives? Thank you.
So the point is you're talking about, we talked about the one-off items, and those we have already clarified. I am not clear that what kind of 50 crore you're talking about. As I said in my opening remark, that this year in FY20, we had a knock of around 90 crore on account of our raw material prices. Okay? So that has been absorbed in this. And as far as this raw material prices, we have already cleared the scenario. And expenditure side, the big item has been the cow cess, which will continue to be there in Uttar Pradesh. Rest of each overhead item we are reviewing and will make it leaner and thinner as far as possible. So those are the cost measures which is already being taken by the company.
Okay. How much could be the gross margin saving due to the one-off impact on raw materials? That's the top.
See, we think that the gross margin are going to stay near to this. 48.6% was our gross margin. So we are thinking that whatever, suppose there is some downtrending or this, or which can't be predicted as of now. But with this scenario of raw material and our premiumization, the gross margin to continue to be between 48.5% to 49%. That is what our anticipation for this year.
That is despite the certain duty hikes in states like Andhra Pradesh and all. So the
point is duty hikes are actually resulting in the reduction might be till the time the duty gets corrected. Reduction in the demand in particular state and might be some spillover from the neighboring states. So it doesn't impact the gross margin.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Avi Mehta from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sir, I just had a question on the ENA costs. In the comments you indicated, all your were suggesting that ENA prices should come off. Why are you arguing that ENA should remain stable, sir? And still unclear. It should go down only, right, sir? Or what can go wrong?
See, as a management, we believe in being conservative. We told in our remarks also that we believe the ENA price not to increase stable or it can be on the declining curve. But to predict how much it can go down would be making a wrong assumption.
But so would it be fair to say it should be declining trend? Whatever percentage may not be, but or do you see that there is a possibility of it being stable because, and if you expect it to be stable, why?
As I said, stable for sure, it might decline. But it's better to take it as stable.
Sir, okay. So what's the headwind? I mean, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand that. That's why I was just trying to understand. Why are you saying it can be stable?
The headwind can be, I think it is uncertain time we can't say, but as we prepare our model, we always taken until unless there are clear signals that this decline will be sustainable and sizable. However, we still make our model based on the stable ENA prices.
So let me kind of rephrase this. Has current prices come off or have you seen any correction in ENA prices?
Yes, we have seen 2 to 3% reduction in Q4 versus Q3 and the prices are stabilizing near to that. And at this point of time, we can't say because full of the distillation capacity has also not come in operation. As and when the full distillation capacity comes into operation, the demand increases, the supply increases, and it is a commodity, which is a demand and supply side. So I think our assumption at this point of time is stable to a marginal decline.
Okay, sir. So, okay, I understood, sir. As of now, you have not seen anything. We'll wait till you kind of argue that it will definitely decline. Fair enough, sir. That's all from my side. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, we'll be taking the last 2 questions. The next question is from the line of Chirag Lodaya from Value Quest. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, I have 2 questions. First one was on receivables. So now with state financing being under pressure, do you envisage overall working capital requirement for us will go up this year? And what can be the quantum increase if at all?
So Chirag, actually, state finances are strained, but that gives them that they have to increase their revenue from the domain where they can increase the volume. So the point is to continue to have a supply. That is why the distribution points are being increased, the more open shops and all that is trying to be done. So we see that the clearances and overdue should stabilize and the money should be recovered, and that can only make them to have this continuous supply. So we can't say from here to 20, 30, 50 crores plus minus depending on the volume growth and or the supply. Otherwise, we don't see that there is a significant change in our working capital needs.
Got it, sir. Second was on overall industry volume. So first there has been COVID disruption, and now many states have taken steep excise increase. So how is the overall industry volume shaping up for this year?
See, as I said, right now it's too soon to make any judgment on this, and also we do not know how the COVID is going to play out, whether the lockdown is going to continue, whether they are going to allow shops, etc. So right now to make any kind of assessment would be wrong, but the only thing we feel is seen by the global trend that alcohol would be the industry which will bounce back the fastest. So we can only see that what is happening in US, etc.
Right. Okay, got it. And just lastly, on overall our margin, operating margin, so how one should look at FY21? What kind of cost-cutting measures you will undertake? Will you cut A&P spends if there is low demand, or what kind of cost levers do we have? How one should look at that?
See, as a company, we've not decreased any salaries, number one. But what we are looking at is we are renegotiating all the fixed costs, whether it is rentals, whether it is fees, etc. And so we are working on every angle. And we will see how the situation pans out. So
the gross margin continues to be, I think, 15.2% has been our margin for this year. So we expect this margin to be stable at these levels with this product mix and all that. kind of raw material scenario we have already explained. But it is, as we always maintain, that little future uncertain at this point of time. So as the things evolve, we will be more clearer about it. But we expect margin to be near to these levels.
Right. But do we envisage any A&P cut this year because of now lower demand and 2 months already gone? So I want to look at A&P as a line item. How you are thinking on that?
So A&P, we would be adopting a more rational and cautious approach. The larger part of A&P will go towards digital, and that obviously in today's scenario costs much less than the traditional medium. So yeah, that's a good area to look at and be cautious.
Got it, sir. All the best, and thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil Upadhyay from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, on this A&P, just to understand it better, because as I understand, a lot of the promotion and brand promotion cost is basically dependent upon the promotion which we do at the bar or at the events. Now, with the bars being closed and the events, large events like marriages or some of these events not happening, is there a significant possibility for the rationalization in this cost structure? Just to understand this, how much of it is variable and how much of it is like a fixed brand investment which we keep on doing? So just to understand this expense a little better.
See, definitely what you are saying, like bar promotions, event, etc., would be all cut down. And there would be a rationalization of the A&P spend and going forward.
So is there a mix if you can give? How much of it would be towards brand bar promotions or event-led promotional cost, and how much would be...
See, we never give a mix. On an average, our A&P spend is in the range of about 7 to 8%. So that is what it has been traditionally, but definitely this year it should be lower.
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
So actually, we have explained our position. At the same time, we are fully geared to take this opportunity as and when the market normalizes, the demand comes back. The Radico has quite comfortable liquidity position. Our balance sheet is strong. We have a very low interest rate on our debt, and we can take this opportunity in future. So with these remarks, we will continue to grow our portfolio, invest on our brands. So we will be consistently delivering competitively and profitably in future. And outsmarting the industry growth rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Emkay Global Financial Services, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining us.